Glad to know you're still there. You're still watching The Breakfast on Plus TV Africa. Right now, we'll be discussing our first hot topic that says Tinubu signs 4 tax bills into law. President Bola Tinubu has officially signed into law 4 major tax reform bills at the presidential villa in Abuja, concluding a legislative process initiated by the National Assembly. The bills include the Nigeria Tax Bill, Nigeria Tax Administration Bill, a Nigeria Revenue Service Establishment Bill, and Joint Revenue Board Establishment Bill, each developed after extensive consultation with stakeholders. These reforms aim to overhaul Nigeria's fiscal and revenue framework by streamlining tax systems, reducing overlap taxes, and improving compliance. They will consolidate tax laws for better ease of doing business, establish a unified tax administration across all government levels, create a more autonomous Nigeria Revenue Service, and introduce oversight structures like Tax Appeal Tribunal and Office of the Tax Mediator. The signing was attended by top government officials, including the Senate President, Speaker of the House, Finance Committee leaders, governors, and the Minister of Finance, highlighting its significance. The government expects these laws to enhance revenue collection, foster predictable investment climate, and strengthen tax administration nationwide. Our guest this morning is Ambassador Wisdom Chapp-Jumbo, is a public affairs analyst. Good morning, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, and happy to be here. Thank you.
Lovely to always have you. So, first, 4 tax bills, fantastic. I mean, it has been talked about for the longest time, and we've always said that we need to overhaul these things, and we need to find a way where people can have the ease of doing business and they can be compliant to paying taxes. But for you, what do you think is the significance of all of this?
Thank you for that question. And before I begin to answer that, I want to use the opportunity to just thank Mr. President for the effort to broker peace in Rivers State. I don't know if you've seen the breaking news.
Yeah.
Between the former governor, which FCT minister, and also the present governor. We are very happy. We see the pictures and the handshakes, and we indeed must thank Mr. President for that peace. And peace is priceless. And Rivers State, we're happy. I just want to use the opportunity to thank Mr. President for that effort and welcome back the governor as soon as possible. All right. So what President Tinubu has signed into law, the 4 tax bills are very historic. They are very historic in the sense that this reform to our Nigerian tax system will change a lot of things for us as a people. These reforms have never been done for God knows how long, and they have slowed down, our development, even how we administer government as a people. There were so many bottlenecks. There were so many loopholes in the tax system that delayed, or that cost us more, as a people than what we're going to have now. So all of this is tied towards progress, sincerely, and how do we achieve this, for the country. So the political will alone by President Tinubu to be able to achieve this under 2 years is what we must also really commend. It wasn't an easy task, as there was really ethnic correlation and many sides of this, bills that was really troublesome for many. But the president stood firm through all of it. Our tax unification, VAT, issues around it, and also how we are going to unify all of things, the company income tax, personal income tax, and how this new tax reform will also benefit SMEs. It is indeed very, very important. SME benefits is huge. Increased exemption threshold for small businesses, who have between 25 million turnover to 50 million turnover, very important. And also other areas of the bill that, I think will give us fantastic development. May start a bit slow, but in the long run, we'll see that as we bring more people into the tax net, we'll have more monies, for government to do what it needs to do. So the conversation is going to shift now from, government not having money to what is government doing with the money. And I hope we can be able to track some of these things in due time.
So what are the economic impacts of all of this? I mean, what are the benefits that people are going to see? I know one thing is, if you're a small, medium, and micro scale business, and you're not earning as much, you don't have to pay these taxes. You can have, would I call it a tax relief or something? But what are the benefits, the economic benefits that we're looking to see with this?
You're breaking a bit. Are you saying benefit to the economy?
Yes, the economic benefits, especially for businesses. So what are we going to see with this?
So benefit for the economy is even very clear, because the more we can create more room for small businesses, to operate, the more the economy is going to grow. As you know, SMEs are like the lifeline of the economy. So I'll tell you, for example, the first bill is ease of doing business. All the multiple taxes that we pay has been unified into one. So consolidating the multiple taxes into a single harmonized framework, to reduce duplication and overlap. And that's what this, part of what this new tax bill has done. We're going to unify it. It means instead of paying multiple taxes here and there, you bring this into one, and that will help small businesses really to grow. As a small business, if I stop paying taxes in multiple ways, I mean, I save a lot of money for myself. Also, the issue of personal income tax relief exempt individuals, up to 1 million naira annual, and offers reduced reliefs, for people who also earn between 1.7 million. So all of that. So what it means generally is that if you earn around 250,000 naira in a month, you have been exempted from quite some of these taxes, like personal income tax and all of that. So which is going to help you as an individual. That's helping the economy itself. And so we're again unifying that whole process. SME benefits I mentioned before, and other areas we can continue to look at. But most importantly, again, is that we have created a standard legal operational framework, across states, federal, and local levels in how we administer tax. And as the chairman of the Fiscal Reforms and Tax Committee said, he says that now we have a better way, to be able to monitor our people and be able to get tax from them, and that even your phone numbers, your NIN, and all of that are going to be ways to make sure that people don't evade tax anymore, because the major bottleneck we had before was people evade tax. So what it means is when they hold you, when you work in this state and you want to be taxed in Abuja, they say, oh, but you are paying the tax in this state and all of that. So all of that will be unified now. We're not going to have all those issues anymore. Then we talked about, should we call it FIROS, that's a Federal Inland Revenue Service? Does that represent us clearly, as a people, or should we look at a better way to look at that? And these bills that have been signed now also part of it is the establishment of the Nigeria Revenue Service, which we think gives a better coloration to what we want to do as a country around tax. So this one now signed into law replaces FIROS, which will not be in existence, and we have about 6 months, and these new bills begin to be active from the 1st of January 2026. So there's enough time, about 6 months, for awareness, for all stakeholders to align, and all of that. And again, just to add, on the part of the economy, we look at the petroleum sector and what is coming to the petroleum sector itself, which will align upstream tax and royalties collection under in the petroleum sector, and introduce like exemption to boost gas development, which I think is also very critical, as gas is part of what powers our power sector, is a major part of the power sector, and over time there's been major issues around gas. And there are other exemptions that have come from this tax bill that will benefit the energy sector, which of course we also go back into the economy, which is very critical. So and to help us invite more investments from investors into the sector, which I think will be amazing over time. So there's a lot to really celebrate with the new laws.
Fantastic, but I mean, there are people that might still be a little bit skeptical, and we've seen over time that there is that trust deficit with public institution and the citizens, and they just think like most times people take these monies, they're not accounted for, there is no form of transparency or any sort of that. So with this, how do you think that the government is going to come here and say, you know what, you can trust us, and you can trust that we want your own benefit, we have your own, we're thinking about you, and how do you think they can now gain that public support, whereby people are not going to be evading taxes? Because if we're being honest, a lot of people currently evade taxes. So how do you think these people can say, you know what, we trust the government, we trust that even when they get these taxes, we're going to start to see developments? Because in most countries, the reason why the people are taxed is because they use that money for, development of the nation. So are we going to see that here, and how do you think they can get that public trust and support?
Okay, your audio is a bit bad, but I get your point. Transparency.
Yeah. Yes.
How do we see transparency from the side of government, especially when trust is an issue between government and the people? So we, the people, we also have our part to play.
That's right.
But I think now from this, the conversation will now move into what are the transparency or transparent measures that government is going to put in place so that we can see how they are using the money. Transparency, accountability is a major issue for government in this part of the world. Especially Nigeria and other parts of Africa, we need to continue to work on this, because trust is not from the people. It's not what you can enact as a government. It's what you need to earn. So the challenge to President Tinubu now and the present government will be how they work towards transparency and earning the trust of the people with the efforts we are going to be seeing, because we want to be able to see that the taxes we are paying are being used judiciously, and they are able to give account for it. We don't want the situation, now that we've achieved the reform, we don't want the situation where the chunk of our taxes we are going to be paying will now be used to finance politicians to live their lavish lifestyle. That's not what we want to see now. And the tax is on President Tinubu. He has used his first 2 years to achieve this reform. We want to see how the next 2 years is going to build that trust with Nigerians. I think that's a huge tax now that will be in front of the president. But not just the president alone. We also want to see the same for the governors and also the local government chairmen, because more monies from this new reform by the tax bill will be going to the state governors. So, especially when you look at the consumption tax, the VAT, and all of those monies that will be coming, more of it will be going to the state governments. We want to see how they are also going to manage it. Even the local government, how do we see that transparency across board? Trust and accountability, and transparency needs to be a culture we need to imbibe as a people. And in my view, with my little experience in government, is to see that we want to see that built from the local level upwards, because the president is not only the issue. If you go to many local governments today, even the monies that come into the government, many times they can't give account of it. So it's not just the president that's the issue here. It has to be all of us as a people, starting from the local level. So the issue of building trust is what we must imbibe as a culture. We must start it one step at a time, because many Nigerians they are angry because the monies they see that they fly around in government does not get to them. The moment it begins to get to them, they forget that they once said that it's corruption that is happening there. So they're also looking for opportunity to go and get their hands on the money. So that's how a lot of times you see Nigerians operate. But we now that we are getting many reforms come in, we need to be able to work towards achieving that trust, with the people, and see clearly what our taxes will be used for. The projects, the major part of it is the projects that will be impactful to the people and the economy, that we want to see some of this money is going to. We don't want to see more of this money is going to pay salaries and buying more vehicles, for politicians to drive on, assembly members to drive. We want to see go into critical projects that will impact the economy. We want to see it go into our healthcare sector is a mess completely. We want to see some of those monies go into the transportation is a big issue. It takes a chunk of money from Nigerians. how we're going to see more of these taxes go into, reducing the burden on transportation for Nigerians will help us, do more for the economy. Power is a critical issue again. We want to see more of the monies and taxes we're going to pay go into solving our power issues, and once and for all, put the issue of power to an end, so that there will be more monies for Nigerians to thrive and do more for themselves. So the issue of trust is a process, but that is the burden on leadership now that is on President Tinubu, the governors, and also local government chairmen across the 774 local governments on the country. So it's a work in progress, and we hope that Nigerians will be patient. I'm optimistic personally, and we want to see the country work for our own good.
Most definitely, and see that development in the country, because that's how it's supposed to be. And if we're saying that we want Nigeria to be better, it starts from the little things, when it comes to transparency and accountability. But there was something that you spoke about, which was, even the governors as well, and you want to see how they would actually use these monies. But I remember that when this tax bill said, the talks had come up, some of the northern governments were, against it, saying they're going to lose fiscal autonomy and whatnot. What other challenges do you think this tax bill might pose? But then how do you think we can switch it up and just have people know that it's for the benefit of everybody?
So again, can you take that again? Your audio is
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you, but your audio keeps
fluctuating. I think it might be the network. But I was thinking about, the governors, and most of the northern governors, the first time this tax bills had come, into our hearing, most of them were against it, about losing fiscal autonomy. And, when it comes to their states, they might not be able to have that development that they want and whatnot. They wanted it to stay the way it was. And I'm just asking, what other challenges do you think that this could have posed, and how do you think it should be taken to switch it up for people to know that it's for the benefit of everybody?
Okay, I think the issue with the northern leaders was an issue around VAT and how that would get at the time. They were in their rights to have an issue, or to see where they think was an issue and raise it. And I think Taiwo Edele, who is the chairman of the Fiscal Reform and Tax Committee of the president, was able to manage those concerns, and a very good commendation for him on how they manage all the stakeholders, include the governors and then the northern governors on the issue of VAT and how that will be shared. And we're happy they arrived at a final conclusion on that. It shows you that when a reform is about to happen as a country, it's not a walk in the park. There are going to be resistance, clearly. And those resistance, whether genuine or not, there needs to be a proper way to manage it. And give it to the Presidential Fiscal Tax Reform Committee. We held several town halls, both on TV and on ground, the National Assembly, public hearings, to make sure that they capture, the feedback from the public and especially critical stakeholders on the areas that were of concern. Largely, the major issues were around VAT, and that has been put to rest. And now we have the bill signed into law. So I think it doesn't affect anything. What we're going to do now is the monies that will be going to those northern states and east states, as I said earlier, we want to see the governors, use it judiciously. We want to see transparency. That's where we'll be holding the governors, that you raise the hula baloo on this issue of VAT, and now the bulk of that money will be coming to you. How do you plan to manage it? How have you managed it? What have you done with all these monies? How have you bettered the lives of your people? So that's what we're looking at now, and I think that's where the whole conversation will now go to. But I think there's no issue. The president hasn't victimized anyone. He has shown the bigger political will and the bigger capacity in all of this, and allowed everything to really go as it will go. And good thing for Mr. President is, unlike other committees that have been set up in the past. I mean, we had the Orosaya report and committee and all of that. Implementation was a bigger issue when we put committees together to work on reports and see how we can make reforms happen. So this time around, under 2 years, I really must commend the quick time, we have used to pass these bills into law. It wasn't a walk in the park at all. President Tinubu has shown himself to be someone who has a very solid political will to get this done. I want to see that also happen in other areas and other reforms that we expect coming soon.
Right. I know that this is great, especially with declining oil revenues, and of course it's important that we get to diversify, our own portfolio to say how best can we start to generate more revenue into the country. But, moving forward, what do you think that business owners, because they're the ones who are really going to be taxed, and even with the citizens because they have to pay VAT, what do you think we should expect, especially when it starts to manifest? That I think January 1, 2026, we all have to start using these new tax reforms. So what do we expect? What should we expect, rather, in terms of rollout and engagement and whatnot?
Okay, your question again, you're talking about going to 2026.
Yes.
What do we see?
Yes, what should we expect? Expectations?
Expectations, number one, is the next 6 months before January itself will be used for awareness, and the presidency has said the bills will take effect from 1st of January. So what we hope to see by then is the transition would have now happened from FIRS to Nigerian Revenue Service. That transition, what will happen within that transition, we'll begin to see within the next 6 months of the year. Also, what is now going to happen is the Joint Revenue Board, which of course it was part of the bill, a proper coordinated governance, setting up the Joint Revenue Board for streamlined revenue sharing and collaboration across the government tiers. That will also be set up against, January the 1st, 2026, when things will formally kick off. Also, there's a taxpayer protection mechanism as part of this bill. So the establishment of the Tax Appeal Tribunal and Office of the Tax, Ombudsman, I think this is what they call that one, if I'm not getting it correct, which will be ensuring governance or grievances rather. Yeah. Grievances are resolved within 14 days, because a big problem we have currently is that when there are grievances with taxes, there is no proper channel to be able to have.
You mean the tax mediator?
Landing in the courts.
You mean the tax mediator?
Sir?
You mean the office of the tax mediator?
Yes, the tax mediator. Yeah, that's how it is drafted in the bill. So that will also be, be set up before. So all the mechanisms, in the bill that should be ready for kickoff by January 26th, the 1st. Will now be ready, and stakeholders also from across different sectors who will be getting clarity on how this new law will affect their business, their sector before January the 1st. All of that we also want to see, will now be happening, as we go. So also the transparency, we also want to see the performance-based operations accountability measures that are part of the bills. We also want to see that, begin to kick effect before January the 1st next year. So by January the 1st, we go into the new year ready and prepared to kick off with the reforms that have been passed into law. So that will give the people ample time for readiness and preparedness, so that nobody will say, oh, maybe I was so I didn't know. Now I know. Also, the states and local governments can also be able to align properly to what will now be, the tax system of the country. And also, I also want to see that the state governments, are maybe, looking at their laws, their state laws on tax, and to also make amendments to realign it to what we now have, as a Nigerian, tax system. So, because there are also many other loopholes in their state laws that they may need to amend to be in proper alignment with these 4 bills that have been passed. So all of that, we hope that 6 months is enough for us to see all those ample times to happen, so that there will be uniformity across board and there's proper clarity on everything tax issues. So all of that will be, I hope that will be seen within the next couple of months.
Yeah, let's just hope that, you know, the rollout, the engagement, the awareness is right there, and we hope that we start to see the benefits, because since the president came, there's been a lot of reforms, and, you know, even Affairs was saying you need to use your political office to restructure Nigeria. So this obviously is part of the restructuring, and we hope that where he has said tighten up,
that is happening without us knowing.
Where he has said tighten up your belt, you start to see the dividends. We hope that soon we'll start to see the dividends, and at least 2026 would even be better for everybody. Maybe now is the time to just pass through it, but there's the light at the end of the tunnel, and we get to see that light. We want to say thank you so much for coming, Wisdom. It's always a pleasure having you. Thank you for your time and your valuable contributions this morning.
Thank you. Thank you always for having me.
Yeah, have a wonderful day. All right, we've been speaking with Wisdom Chapp-Jumbo. He's a public affairs analyst, and we've just been looking at the fact that the president has signed 4 tax bills into law. We'll go on a short break. When we return, we'll be discussing the fact that the import policy hurts local lubricant production. Please stay with us.